Hey guys, I'm back at it again. I decided I didn't want that depressing shit to be the only thing that I put out on the newsletter today. We got that going on here. I just came back from the gym and I want to talk about a couple things. So spotting is a big one. I'm not never going to go up to people and like tell them what to do in the gym. The only time I would ever do anything like that is if I saw someone who I thought was in immediate danger of being hurt by what they were doing. But I do observe a lot of things, and I think a lot of younger people in the weight room don't know what spotting is for, what spotting is, okay? Look, there's all kinds of different things you can do in the weight room. I certainly am not in the habit of trying to like regulate what anybody else does, but I do think that there's an old school perspective on spotting that I think would be useful for people. So the big thing that I want to put, and what I'm sure I'll make the headline of the post where I share this, is a spotter's job is not to help. Okay, like a spotter in the weight room is not someone who helps you move the weight. All right, like that is just a fundamentally a misconception about what spotting is for. A spotter's job is to maintain the immediate physical safety of the person who's lifting. Right? It is about safety. It is about making sure someone can complete their reps in a safe fashion. And if they get to a point where they can no longer complete a rep, if they reach a failure state, then you help them carefully return the weight to rest position. Okay. If you have the kind of relationship with a spotter, if you know each other, if you're workout buddies, whatever, and it is, true to your relationship that you would shout encouragement or whatever, that's cool too, right? If you want to encourage the person, that's great. It's not like a necessary job of being a spotter. I don't expect it. And in the rare occasions that I ask people for spots these days, I prefer if they don't give me encouragement. But too many guys I'm seeing in the gym are taking some of the weight, right, and doing it for multiple reps, right. That's not what spotting is, right? Like they'll see their friends start to struggle, and they'll immediately start to take some of the weight of the bar, right? Typically in bench press. When you're doing that, right, you're not letting the person put themselves into progressive overload, right? Like you're not letting them have the experience that we're lifting weights for, right? Which is to bring our muscles to a failure state, right? Now there's a whole conversation on the internet about the necessity of working to failure. If that's something you want for your last set or for every set or whatever, I'm not going to get into that. But I do think that like sometimes reaching a true failure state is important, right? So you want to let the person struggle because struggling is how you get stronger and how your muscles grow, right? Like the struggle is the part where you are sending a signal to your body, hey, we need to grow more muscle to be able to accommodate the weight that is that we're trying to move, right? Like you need to let your body know my current amount of muscle is inadequate to the task, okay? It's really important to let guys experience these failure states. Once they're reaching a point of failure or reaching a point of failure in shoulder press or whatever, spotting is a little weird, but anyway, once they're reaching that point, watch carefully. If they reach a point where they stop and they are unable to move the bar for several seconds, or more importantly, if they start to go back down, immediately take as much of the weight of the bar as you can and return it safely to starting position. Okay? You don't need to, and in fact should not, be grabbing it halfway through a rep where a guy wasn't really struggling that hard, taking some of the weight, right, moving with him, and then saying, another one, bro. That's not helping anybody, okay? We want to do honest reps in the weight room. Not out of any, integrity thing, but, honest reps in the sense of knowing how much we're lifting for how many reps is a really important part of tracking your progress, right? If every time you're doing bench press, your workout buddy is taking some, who knows how much, 10%, 25%, we don't know, he doesn't know, nobody knows, of the weight, right? Then you don't know how many times you can lift a certain amount of weight for a certain amount of reps, right? You don't know, okay? If you want to experience, right, working to a point of failure with a heavier weight, and then having some of that burden be removed and continuing on, okay, a drop set is what you do, right? You do your reps of 225, then you drop the weight down to 185, right? And then you burn out from there, okay? That is how you can experience that. But if your buddy is taking some of the weight, you don't know how much he's taking, okay? Now, look, if you have some sort of like knowledge of weightlifting and you think that you can sort of work it out with your buddy or with your spotter in a way that sort of makes this to your advantage, obviously I'm not saying don't do that, but I am saying like you have to know what you're doing to do that, right? And I think a lot of guys are intimidated by the weight room in general, don't know what all the unwritten rules are because the weight room is a place with tons of unwritten rules, and don't really know how to spot, and so are worried that they're going to do it wrong, and so they just start taking it fast, right? And so typically, like, I can't bench because of my shoulder right now, hopefully another month or so, but if I'm benching and I need a spot, I always say, don't touch it until I tell you, right? Like, I will let you know when I have achieved failure, and then you can take it. I don't need help. That's not what spotting is, okay? And just a couple other quick things, like, I don't think that the research record on supersets, so you do one exercise immediately after another, and you do those in a cycle, right? So you might do, say, close grip bench press, and then immediately do some skull crushers or whatever. I don't think the research record is like particularly encouraging about doing them at all, but if you want to do them, fine. If you are monopolizing a piece of equipment that is not close to you at the moment, and this happens more often than I would care for it to at my gym. If you're supersetting, it involves like walking across the gym. Number one, if you do that in like a crowded gym at a crowded time, you're an asshole. Okay, like your desire to superset does not exceed the fact that like lots of people need to use the equipment, and we need to be courteous of others. And like again, there's ways to achieve what you want to achieve that don't require supersetting anyway. But like you should literally, people walking all the way across the gym to go to a different piece of equipment and then walking all the way back, I think is when the gym is crowded, I think that's inappropriate. But if you do it, right, for fuck's sake, like at least put a towel on the thing you're not using to let people know that you're using it, right? Like, I've seen people, like, someone will come and start using a piece of equipment, and a guy will come over, hey, I'm using that for his superset, whatever. How are you supposed to know that, right? Like, how's anyone supposed to know that, right? I mean, I think most people assume that a piece of equipment that looks open with nothing on it is an open piece of equipment, right? It just drives me crazy. And it's even worse, like, guys do supersets that make no fucking sense at all, right? I saw a guy supersetting deadlifts and close grip bench press, okay? And it's just like, those are not like overlapping muscular chains in any way that I can divine. I don't know what you're getting out of it. Like, if you're just in a hurry, I guess that's okay, but like, I mean, well, anyway, you can do whatever you want, I don't care. But in general, excuse me, you don't have to get that fancy, right? Like, I think a lot of guys like this drop set stuff, and I do drop sets sometimes. They like supersets or whatever. They're getting all these bands now. I can't tell you how many times I see guys wrapping bands around the bench press now. I have no fucking idea. I mean, I do have some idea, okay? Like, look, like, I understand the principle that, that as you lower the weight, right, the resistance is lowered as well, and as you push the weight, the resistance grows, and people use it for if you're having trouble with lockout, whatever. But like, you really have to know, again, what you're doing with that. And I just think a lot of guys just think it looks cool, right? And you can just, you just keep it simple, right? Like, you don't need to do that. And I just, I have my usual laments, which is that, like, I just think that a lot of guys are doing programs that are terribly inefficient for what they're trying to do in the weight room. I said this, I wrote a whole post about this, but it's like, if you want to do powerlifting, that's awesome. If you're intrinsically motivated to do that, that's awesome. If you just want to be a strong guy, that's fine by me. If you genuinely have a functional strength, reason to want to do that, that's fine by me as well. But almost every guy in the gym wants to look big, and he wants to look big to be attractive to more people, right? Okay, weightlifting is all about vanity. The whole industry floats on a cloud of vanity, okay? I'm just being real with you, right? I bust my ass in the gym because I want to look good, right? I want to be a big dude. But people feel like they have to have this pressure to dress all of that up with, like, oh yeah, man, it's functional strength. Yeah, I need that functional strength. It's like, I think you probably just want to look big, right? And again, like, if that's what motivating you, that's great. But it's like, is it really what's motivating you? Like, ask yourself, really, be ruthless with yourself and saying, do I really need functional strength, or do I want to look like a big dude, right? Because, and this is the thing that people seem to have forgotten, is you're going to use different rep patterns if your point is to get bigger as opposed to getting stronger. Now, of course, muscles grow as they get strong, and muscles get stronger as they grow, right? Grow bigger. Of course, size and strength are correlated. But there are more efficient and less efficient routines out there. I don't understand. I mean, I said in that post, I've talked to guys, and I'm like, what are you into it for? And it's like, I just want to get big. I just want to look big. But they are doing these, like, 3-rep sets, right? And it's just not, like, I know that, like, it's all bro science, and that the trends change and everything. But, like, if you want to look bigger, right, then you need to inspire muscle growth, right? Doing powerlifting, you see a lot of these guys, they're extremely strong and they're very impressive athletes, right? But many competitive powerlifters don't walk around looking like big swole guys, right? Because their body is recruiting their already existing muscle mass, right, more and more efficiently in order to achieve those lifts that they're doing. Whereas you want to inspire greater hypertrophy by doing an appropriate rep range, which for most guys, like, if you want to get big, you're going to be doing something between, like, 8 and 12 reps for many or most of your sets. There's all different kinds of ways to chop this up. I know everybody's always going to end up maxing out their bench press, right? Like, I know that's something people just can't avoid, is, wanting to max to bench near their max. But, like, I don't know. At some point, like, they're, like, kind of some old school basic wisdom about the weight room was lost because guys became obsessed with the idea of, like, the inherent dignity of powerlifting or whatever, and I find that bizarre. Like, I don't go to the gym to increase my virtue, right? I go to the gym to try to look bigger and better. So, yeah. Also, I think a lot of you are resting way too long, but I was sure resting not long enough. Sorry. I don't. I'm sure you can read much better exercise science than that. I think that there are certain, like, cardio benefits to doing short rest times, but you're not in the weight room for cardio, right? Like, I mean, and I think that oftentimes it's going to be better for you to rest until you feel adequately rested, till your pulse rate goes down, till your breathing goes down, so that you can do more reps at more weight, right? So that you can increase the amount of overload that you're doing. And if you're struggling to gain size, but you've been doing minute-long or 2-minute-long rests in between sets, I think that you have to consider the possibility that, like, your muscles are not recovering adequately in between sets, which means that you cannot recruit enough muscle fiber and you can't push enough weights for enough reps during your sets, so that you're never really achieving progressive overload. So anyway, today that's been Freddie's bitch corner about things happening in the weight room. where I stand silently and judge everyone all the time. It's a real character flaw of mine. Okay, that's it. Talk to you guys later.